Let's bring in Robert Patman. He's a professor of international relations at the University of Otago. He joins us live from Dunedin in New Zealand. Good to have you with us, Robert. So Jake Wood sounded rather diplomatic. Good morning to you. Jake Wood sounded rather diplomatic in his resignation letter, saying he would never abandon his principles of humanity, impartiality and independence. But reading between the lines, Robert, what do you think? Why do you think he resigned?
I think he cumulatively realised, and remember, Jake Wood has a background in humanitarian assistance, but dealing with natural disasters. And I think he cumulatively realised that he wasn't getting support from the organisations that he needed in order to make this US-Israeli initiative an effective, independent humanitarian organisation. It's no secret that major aid donors had not been convinced by this proposal, which is essentially a start-up. And secondly, the UN, and particularly UNRWA, have been very cool in response and have indicated they won't cooperate. And, I think the other thing here we have to take into account is that, as it's been pointed out many times, there's not a need for a new humanitarian organisation per se in the eyes of the UN and aid organisations. What's needed is to end the blockade of food.
OK.
And so from their point of view, aid organisations see this as a confused thinking.
And it is interesting, Robert, because the GHF has been criticised from the start, hasn't it, as it seemed to be overseen by the US and Israel. How much of a body blow is this to the US and Israel's bid to distribute aid in Gaza? At a minimum, it's highly embarrassing, isn't it?
It is a potential body blow. I understand, Darren, they intended to start the distribution of humanitarian aid in late May, and that doesn't look particularly practical at the moment. And the crucial thing here is, I think this initiative lacks international legitimacy in the eyes of some of the key stakeholders. And what is also striking and has caused problems is that Jake Wood's resignation, he said that he didn't believe the organisation was adhering to humanitarian principles, which he would not turn his back on, which sort of confirms the view. The Swiss at the moment, the Swiss government is actually exploring a legal complaint about the status of the US, the Israeli initiative. There is a perception internationally this is an attempt to weaponize the distribution of humanitarian aid rather than simply distribute aid to those who need it.
Yeah, and even worse, Robert, there was to be no Palestinian involvement, and the UN, as you say, was to be sidelined. Many critics say this smacked of the US and Israel using the GHF to meet their own political objectives at the expense of people in Gaza who are being bombed and starved to death.
Yes, and I think that suspicion has been fueled by the fact that the Israel government makes no secret of the fact that it wants control of Gaza. And the Trump administration has already floated a proposal in the past which involved the displacement of the Palestinian population from Gaza. So in the eyes of much of the international community, the two parties who've contributed to the current situation now wish to take over the operation of humanitarian aid when they have particular political goals in mind. And that does fuel suspicion and concern that this wouldn't be a disinterested, impartial humanitarian operation. Also, as I said before, it's not the best time to have a start-up when you actually have tried and trusted organisations which simply are not being given the tools to do the job.
Robert Patman, really good to get your thoughts and your analysis, Robert. Many thanks for your time, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.